Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Dzkan Toys, where I do reviews and share my thoughts on some of my favorite toy releases. It's been a while, but today we have a new Figma review to look at, and it is the Max Factory Tanjiro Kamado DX edition from Demon Slayer. Let's check out the box and get the unboxing started in. So something I noticed with the DX edition of this box, Figma tried to make it look a bit more luxury. We have this extra casing outside, which is black with the art of Tanjiro, and at the back we have some more images as you guys are about to see. After we slide the inner box out from the casing, we have our more normal looking Max Factory Figma box. So this one is a little bit bigger because we have some extra accessories due to the DX edition, but overall it is the same as our usual Figma boxes. At the back we have some more pictures and it says Figma 498 DX edition. Here we have our Figma Tanjiro unboxed. While we take a 360 view of him, let's talk about the series and the character's background. Most of you guys, I assume, are pretty familiar with Demon Slayer, as it is one of the more recent and popular series for anime and manga to be released in recent years. Anyways, a short introduction. Tanjiro Kamado is the main protagonist of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Japanese name. He is a Demon Slayer in the Demon Slayer Corps who joined to find a remedy to turn his sister Nezuko Kamado back into a human and to hunt down and kill demons in order to protect others from suffering the same fate as him. Before he became a Demon Slayer, his entire family was slaughtered by the Demon King, Muzan, while his sister Nezuko was turned into a demon as a result. So that's the basic gist of the series. If you guys are interested, you can check out the anime series and the manga. Now let's go over the aesthetics and paint job of the figure. My first impressions of the Figma right out of the box, it kind of remind me of this figure as not really a Figma. Not in a bad way per se, but as an avid collector of Figma, I'm quite used to the bodies of the different Figmas that have been released. For this Figma Tanjiro figure, I noticed that the body is entirely different from most Figmas that I have been having in my collection, and the entire body mold is definitely brand new and made specifically for the Tanjiro figure. Starting with the head, we have that signature flared out hairstyle of Tanjiro sculpted perfectly in Figma form. I don't have too much complaints over here, and we also have the faceplate, which is quite suitable for Tanjiro. Figma has always been on their A game when they're printing anime-like faceplate, and over here, the Demon Slayer Tanjiro is no different. For the hair color, we have sort of a dark brown color with multiple shadings, a little bit of a dark to black to a light to brown. As for the faceplate, we do have an interesting scar is printed on his forehead, representing his Demon Slayer mark, or his birthmark, in the series. So that's a nice touch. Towards the side, we also see that we have his earring sculpted out perfectly. This is also a signature accessory of Tanjiro, so they did a good job here. The color separation is perfect. We have red, white, and the dark gray color at the bottom of the earring. Moving to the midsection of the design of the body, we do have the inner clothing based on the Demon Slayer Corp clothing uniform, which is a full black type of school outfit, almost looking suit. Now Tanjiro does have his signature outer kimono cape / clothing, which is done in the green and black color. We have the black square design, which is printed nicely, and this sort of teal green that represents his colored uniform. The paint details on this figure is quite nice, as for the clothing itself, I didn't notice any type of paint bleeding, and even for the inner clothes, although it is simple in its black color, we do have some separations such as silver for the buttons, white for the collar, the belt, and also this part on the chest, which is a pocket design, I'm guessing. Moving to the lower body, we also have his sword holder, which is done in this black color with a silver at the tip. The pants over here is nicely sculpted and gives a feeling of a very baggy-like pants with the sculpt work. At the ankles, we do have these white wrappings sculpted out and done in this white color. They're supposed to represent some sort of band which he wraps around his legs. Similarly, we also have these rope style on his flip-flops done in red coloring. And for the socks, we have black, and we also have this little tiny part of a white edge to represent the shoes. So all of this lower body design is quite reminiscent of Japanese culture and Japanese clothing, which is a signature part of the Demon Slayer Corp design for their uniforms and costumes. Here's a quick look at the back of this Figma. Over here, we can see more of that pattern design for his signature coat. And we also notice an interesting feature, which is at the back or the sides of the legs, we do have this part that protrudes, and we have these buttons done in silver. So this is another design aspect of the legs that I didn't go over earlier. Here's a closer look at the leg design, which I was just talking about. Also, I noticed that at the end of the sword holder, we also have an extra silver painting done here at the edge. Overall then, I feel like the paint job is quite decent for this Figma, but what really surprised me is the overall aesthetics and sculpting of this Figma. It is quite different from any Figma I have owned so far, and I definitely can tell the extra effort that Good Smile Company and Max Factory has put into this Figma, since I'm guessing Demon Slayer is such a popular anime and manga series in the recent years. They really want to do a successful job on this Figma, and from just the aesthetics and paint job, I have to say they did their part. Now let's go over the accessories of this Figma. So the DX edition of this Figma actually have some extra accessories, I believe the effect parts or the faceplate, so keep that in mind. Starting with the faceplate, we have this one, which is a normal looking face straight out of the box. It does look like he is slightly smiling. Up next, we have a full smiling face, and this one we do see some details inside the mouth, which is the painted tongue. As for the third plate, we have our angry face with the teeth clenching, and this one is to symbolize more of Tanjiro in an angry state while battling. So this one is quite nice and is the one that I'll be using for most of his battle scene shots. As for the fourth and last faceplate, this one is actually quite funny. We have this comical looking face for Tanjiro. Very animated, and I think this one is exclusive to the special edition, if I'm not wrong, but I do love this facial expression. Now let's go over all the hand accessories. So we have our two closed fists right out of the box, which is very normal, and I really like this faceplate over here, so I'm just gonna keep it on while I show you guys the different hands. Next, we have a pair of open palms. A pair of open palms, but less open and looking more relaxed. A pair of holding hands for holding his weapons, such as the sword. Lastly, we have one single hand for the left hand, which is also a holding hand with the thumbs out. So this gives us some extra options in terms of posing, I'm guessing. Moving on to the weapon accessory, we have Tanjiro's signature sword, and it's done in this sort of black color with a little bit of red on the handles. Of course, some silver decoration at the guards and also at the bottom of the sword. We also have a piece of accessory like this, which is only the handle, and this is supposed to be when we're not using the sword, we can just slot it right in the sword holster. Alright, so pretty easy, just like that. As you guys can see, when he's not using it, we can put the sword handle accessory inside the holster, just like that. And of course, when you want to use the sword, we can take the sword handle out and use the sword accessory. Here's the pose with Tanjiro and his signature sword. We also have some very cool effect parts, which is included in the DX edition. We have this thing over here, which is supposed to be water wave and represents Tanjiro's signature water breathing technique. We also have one like this, which is fire made out of clear red and orange plastic, and this one is Tanjiro's other signature technique, which is the flame sword that he's been using. I kind of forgot the name of it, but yeah, it's not the fire breathing, it's the legendary sun breathing or whatever, kind of forgot. So let's check out these accessories. Here we have Tanjiro with the water effect attached to the sword. It was quite easy to put it on, we just slide it in. Although it is kind of heavy for the Figma itself to hold onto, that's why we have this extra piece over here, which we can attach to the Figma stand and hold the effect piece as a support. But for simple posing, he is able to hold these effect parts by himself. Although I do not suggest to keep the effect parts up like this without the extra stand support, because over time gravity may make the joints weaker, and knock on wood, do not break our precious sword. As for the flame effect parts over here, we can actually attach it to the sword the same way which I did for the water effect part. But just to show you guys how the stand works, for this one, I'll just attach it to the stand directly. We have this thing that we slot in over here for the effect part. We can also use the water one and put it here. And afterwards, we clip it to the Figma stand. And there we go. You can have a support for the effect part, either the water effect part or the flame effect part. While we're on this topic, of course, we have the Figma stand as the usual accessory for every Figma. We also get our Figma goodie bag over here, just like every other Figma, to store our accessories. Now the last accessory I want to show off over here for this DX edition Tanjiro is this very cute Nezuko figure. It's quite small. Let's see if we can have a closer look. As you guys can see here, Nezuko over here is super cute because she is really small and only up to the height of our Figma Tanjiro's knees. This one is non-movable. We have her in the sitting position, but it is nicely painted. We have the signature hairstyle of the black and orange highlights, and of course the bamboo at the mouth. Very nice. And at the bottom, we have this slot thing over here. I assume we can use this in the future. As one of the negatives I wanted to mention for this Tanjiro is that we do not get the box that he is carrying. We'll have to wait until the Nezuko version of the DX release to get the box for Tanjiro. So that's a bummer. I wish they could have included the signature box with this Tanjiro, but I'm guessing for marketing purposes, they're trying to get you to grab the Nezuko as well. Then we'll have the box. Moving on to the next segment, which is the articulation segment. Tanjiro over here can look all the way up, down. The neck is double jointed with the collar, so we have some nice movements for side to side as well. The arms go all the way up and rotate 360. The coat itself here is made out of rubber, while the bottom part seems to be a harder rubber. Elbow bends all the way. We do have a rotation here at the sleeves, which is quite nice. As for the wrist, we have our usual Figma joint, so rotation and side to side. We also have a rotation here at the biceps. As for the waist, we can make Tanjiro look all the way down. Just lost the hairpiece. Let's put this backwards, side to side. The lower waist does have a little bit of rotation as well. As for the sword holster, there's a slot here, so you can actually move the sword holster a little bit down and a little bit up. Doesn't do too much in my opinion. As for the coat, we can move it around like that, up like that. There are on Figma joints. Seems like the hairpiece doesn't want to stay. And for the legs, they kick all the way up this far. We do have a nice natural bend with the closing due to the sculpting. For the bottom, we have a rotation here. And the lower ankles, we have a rotation. Forward, backwards, ankle pivot. Quite nice. So that's the general idea of the articulation for the Tanjiro figure. Overall, I have to say, I do enjoy the articulation of the Tanjiro figure. It is good enough to do most poses. Of course, one sad part is that because the coat is made out of plastic and this rubber material, it is connected to the Tanjiro body. We don't really get to take this coat off. So we can't really show off the inner clothing. And we must display Tanjiro with his signature coat. Time for some quick side-to-side comparisons. Here we have our Figma John Shinjuku version. As we can see over here, Tanjiro is actually shorter than John, and the body sculpt look extremely different compared to our usual Figmas. I'm actually quite surprised that Tanjiro is shorter than the female Figma John over here. I assume he would be around the same height. Here we have our SH Figuarts Goku Super Saiyan Blue. As we can tell here, Tanjiro is also shorter in comparison. Just for good measure, we also have another guy Figma, which is the Goblin Slayer. Finally, we have an interesting comparison, which is the Figma version versus the Buzz mod version of Tanjiro. and it seems like the BuzzMod version is scaled a little bit bigger than the Figma version. Also, the BuzzMod one, just besides looking taller, it also seems a bit wider, and this might be due to the fabric cape that it has compared to the Figma one. The good thing about the BuzzMod one is we can remove the fabric cape, but we can't on the Figma one. But overall, in terms of aesthetics, I think the Figma one might just look better, because the BuzzMod one beside it, it kind of looks like Tanjiro went on an eating spree and got a little bit chubbier. I'm not really sure, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Alright, final thoughts on today's review, Figma 498 DX Special Edition version of the Kimetsu no Yaiba Demon Slayer Figma Tanjiro. Overall, I have to say I really enjoyed this Figma. It really surprised me in terms of the sculpting and aesthetics because it looks so different and actually is very different from our usual Figma bodies. I can tell that Max Factory over here spent extra effort on this Tanjiro Figma, making sure that they can represent Tanjiro and Demon Slayer to the best of their capability for the price point. Although the Figma is quite nice, it is separated into a normal version and a DX version. So some of the goodies that we see over here, such as the effects of the flame and the water effects, plus the baby Nezuko, I believe, is only in the special edition. Another minor negative, I guess, I would say is for this Figma, we can't take off Tanjiro's signature coat to have him with the full Demon Slayer black outfit look because the coat is molded onto the Figma itself. This is not a huge issue because most of the time we see Tanjiro, he's always wearing his signature outfit, the green checkered black squared coat. Another thing that makes me a little bit uncomfortable is the fact that they didn't include the signature wooden carrying case for Nezuko in this Figma Tanjiro and decided to put it in the Figma Nezuko that's coming up. I just feel like Tanjiro should be the one with the box instead of the Nezuko Figma release. But then again, Nezuko is always in the box. I guess you just had to buy him and also the Nezuko then. Good marketing strategy. Other than that, overall I really enjoyed this release. It didn't really seem like a typical Figma release as the body sculpt was so different. And I believe they did a good job. So if you're a fan of Demon Slayer, definitely consider the Figma version, as in my opinion, the aesthetics is the better one out of the BuzzMod one in comparison. There goes the end of today's review. If you enjoyed the review, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on that bell notification. As always, my friends, remember to stay young at heart, and we're out.
I